This is unimagination with my weird shit from whatever the fuck this science is. So we're going over skill building. Skill building is very, very, this is interesting. Skill building. The learning of learning is not at all what people think it is. And it's really interesting because there's a whole thing happening here that has no name. So it's literally the defining of it, the definition, the filling it out, the sculpting it, the refining it, and then telling you this is what this is. There's no words right now for what this is. There's no words. So trying to explain this without a vocabulary is a challenge. This is common over here because we're on the other side of science. So learning is the formula: indulge A, indulge B, and integrate A with B. Now, when you integrate A with B, A and B becomes the new foundation. So AB is the new foundation. And then you indulge C and you indulge D, and then you're going to integrate C and D into A and B. So now you integrate A and B with C and D, and ABCD becomes the new foundation. Now, when you dissect what's going on inside an indulge stage, there's a process. First, there is the starvation stage. And then there is the sated stage. And then there is the glutton stage, which leads to the sick stage, which leads to the bored stage, which leads to the curious and wonder stage, which leads to the I blanked out. I can't remember the word. It starts with an R. Resolution. The resolution stage. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stages that you go through during indulgence. Starvation, sated, gluttony, sick, bored, curious, and then resolution. At resolution, the epiphany pops. Your values change. You become ethical and you pursue indulge B, and the series repeats itself. And then you go through starvation, sated, gluttony, sick, bored, curious or wonder, resolution, epiphany pops, values change, you're ethical, and then you integrate and you learn how to balance both. The balancing of both is called self-regulation. The learning stage is not indulge A, and the learning stage is not indulge B. The learning stage is indulge A, B, and integrate A with B. This is the learning process. Now, there are 2 types of learning. There is, let me think about this. Yeah, there's 2 types of learning. There is theoretical history stuff. We're going to call this the info. And then there's the doing. There is nothing else. Now, while you are going through the indulge starvation mode, you're going to go through the theoretical info and the doing. Most likely, you're just going to focus on doing. And you're supposed to fill in the theoretical when you get to the part where you're stuck on the doing. So the theoretical is to help you problem solve around an obstacle in the doing. So it's do, and then you get to a barricade, you learn, you do theory, and then you do. And that's it. And when you first start, you gorge yourself on it. That's the starvation mode. You absolutely gorge yourself on it like somebody who has been walking the desert and you just found water. And then you're going to drink until you feel satisfied. That's the sated stage. And then you step into the gluttony stage where you keep revisiting the same thing and you just keep devouring and gorging well past the point of sated. This is the process. And then you get to the sick stage, which is required because it's only when you get sick of it that you finally get bored with it. And then you start to wonder, what else can I eat? And that's it. What else is there? And that's the question you want to trigger. What else is there? After you get to what else is there, you become curious. I really want to say that the curiosity follows the what else is there? And then you ask the question, what is this? And then you resolve, I'm going to investigate. And there you have it. Now, there are opposites of indulge A to indulge B. An opposite, a great example of this is being mean. Indulging on being mean leads to kindness. You will not discover kindness until you're an asshole. You have to indulge on being mean to indulge on being kind. The only way to kindness is through being an asshole. There is no shortcut. There is no other way. So this is a really great example. By the way, I am just coming out of this one, which is why it's like the example I'm using is because I just did this. I just got out of me being an asshole. And now I'm like, oh, kindness. I found kindness. And there it is. This is kindness. So I have kindness now because I learned it. I had to learn it by being mean. That was not fun. I did not like that. So now kindness. So then I'm going to indulge on kindness. And that's going to continue until I find literally my breaking point. This is what you're doing is you're looking for the breaking point. The breaking point happens after boredom. That's the breaking point. Now, when you are looking at somebody who is mentally ill, this process has been disrupted. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This problem has been disrupted. This is what we refer to as non-consensual I want to say learning. Really, this is what it is it's non-consensual learning. It's any time somebody tells you you cannot indulge or they tell you you have to indulge on something else. So it's either a denial to indulge or it's forced denial. Sound familiar? Denial to indulge means you want to eat the candy, but your parents told you no. That is denial to indulge. They are denying you the first stage of your learning, denial to indulge. Now, when you indulge, there is a secondary thing happening underneath you called avoidance. This is where all those people who have avoidant issues, this is why. When you indulge, you're actually avoiding something else. So during an indulgence, for instance, when you indulge on A, you're actually avoiding B. So that when you are indulging on B, you are actually avoiding on A. But then you learn to stop avoiding both and you learn to integrate A with B without avoiding either. The learning process is you learning how to not avoid to find moderation. So that when somebody denies you the ability to indulge or they force indulgence on you, it is going to affect your avoiding problem because indulgence has been compromised, so it swings you over to avoid. This reverses you, puts you on the wrong side of the mirror, and now you have been contaminated with narcissism. This is it. When you are denied to indulge, you're supposed to swing beautifully back and forth. So it's indulge here, integrate, indulge, and that's all you're doing. So this is the swinging pendulum. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is learning. However, when a parent messes this up, when they interfere with the indulgence process and they deny you, they call this boundary setting. No, this is not boundary setting. What this is control issues. And now you get stuck in an avoidance stage. So let's look at the denial to indulge. You want to indulge on candy. Parents saying, no, you have to eat green vegetables. That child is then going to turn around and do nothing but indulge on candy, probably for the rest of their life. Children must be allowed to indulge on candy. They must be allowed this. If you mess this up, then they will literally spend their entire adulthood doing nothing but indulging in sweets. This is why. Is because mommy and daddy interfered with their sweets, and so they constantly have it in their head. If they had been allowed to indulge in sweets, they would have gotten sick of it on their own, and then they would have swung back. I did this with my daughter, where I did not deny her sweets. If she wanted candy, she was allowed candy. And I literally took her to a candy store, the largest in New York City, and we spent $100, and she just gorged herself. That's what she got for her 15th birthday or 14th. I can't remember which. When she was done, I have never seen that child eat candy. It's amazing. Like, she was allowed all of it to her heart's content. She devoured it. It was insane. And then she was about halfway through and she went, I want something salty and savory and I want vegetables. Okay. And then she's never gone back. She's never desired candy since, ever. That was 2 years ago. She prefers salty. She prefers vegetables. She prefers real food. She does not touch candy. This is why. It's because you let them indulge. You encourage them to indulge. And when you have forced indulgence, let's look at the other side of forced indulgence. Forced indulgence is a great example of that, is my mother shoving religion down my throat. So forced indulgence is very common with religion. And what you end up seeing, we all know what you end up saying. When you are forced to religion, you absolutely go like a debaucherous maniac. That's what you do. Your parents gave you religion. They forced religion down your throat. You become debaucherous. You have so much structure, you become debaucherous. It's just what you do. It's because you are forced to indulge. It means you are forced to avoid against your will. So as soon as you get freedom, the first thing you do is run towards what you want the most, which is, well, debauchery in the case of religion. So you have two sides to this. You're going to have your denied to indulge. And what that's going to do is that situation creates the forbidden fruit and obsession. That's where that comes from. And in the forced to indulge, that's going to create an aversion to whatever you are forced to have on you. You are going to mostly, and this is where it gets really interesting. If you are not allowed, if you are the forbidden fruit child, it means you will forever be pursuing control. It's extraordinary. If you were the forced indulgence child, then you were the person who immediately no boundaries. Forced risk-taking, forced boundaries. So with forced indulgence, you're going to go no boundaries and risk-taking. You're going to go the extreme. What you are forced to avoid, you're going to devour. And what you're looking for is freedom. That is what you are doing. In the case of the forbidden fruit, you are seeking control. This is amazing. This to me is like fascinating psychology. So you're either obsessive over control because you were denied control, denied indulgence. But if you were forced indulgence, you've got a serious problem with freedom. It's extraordinary to me. I was never denied anything. I was just forced indulgence. So I'm all about freedom. This is why. It's because my parents raised me in forced indulgence on something I didn't want. They never denied me anything. They just forced indulgence of something else. Big difference. Big difference. If you are a denied indulgence is going to put you onto this, I have to control. Now you're looking into addiction people. Now you're looking into people who struggle with constantly seeking control. Those are the people who have to control everything. And yeah, you're going to see a lot of free spirits in the world of forced indulgence. And they'll go with the opposite. And what's going on is because your mom and dad messed around with literally your learning process. Indulge, integrate. Indulge, integrate. Indulge, integrate. Like, this is all we do. And it doesn't stop. It's continuous. This is the growing process. And every time you indulge and integrate, and by the way, what you indulge on and integrate on is absolutely 100% mathematically predictable. It's absolutely predictable. It's on my website, onnaimagination.com. And I break down exactly what you are supposed to indulge on and in what order. That's the 12 ethics. The 12 ethics are the order of what you are supposed to indulge and avoid in. And it's the same 12 things over and over again. You are supposed to re-indulge and re-avoid the same 12 things over and over again. So that the ancient Greeks, when they learned this, they went, well, let's build an entire society that gives them that. Now you're talking. That's what I'm doing. That's exactly where I'm going with this. That's what I'm doing. You have 12 indulgences. Oh, we're going to go all out. 12 indulgences of the human mind. We have 12 indulgences, and that's what it's going to be called, the 12 indulgences. Oh, yeah, it's a thing. So the 12 indulgences is literally the 12 things that people desire more than anything. And what you do is you put it in a safe, ethical environment that allows a person to just go out. Now, the flip side of this is, I don't want safe, I want unethical and dangerous. That is what we refer to as people between the ages of 0 and 4. That is exactly what a 0 to 4-year-old wants to do. These people need danger. They really do. They need danger. They need a life without ethics. They need Lord of the Flies. They need it. This is all that the third ethic is about, which is for 3-year-olds. So 3-year-olds are the world of chaos and insanity. And that's great for a 3-year-old. But parents want them to be ethical and righteous human beings at the age of 3, and now you have fucked it up. Now we've got a problem. So the Lord of the Flies stage really needs to be over and done with by the time you get to the third ethic. Now, this is where things get to be a problem. We saw this with the Victorian age. She went, we're going to do nothing but the ethics over here. And the people went, no, debauchery. It is fascinating. We see this through all of history over and over again. Queen Victoria with her massive ethical standards. And everyone going, no, debauchery. You can't do that to people. So I'm going, these are the ethics. Now let's get debaucherous. That's what I'm doing. That's how I do things. Honest playground. You got to have both sides because you got to indulge on both ends. You're going to want, and I'm under the impression, because I've studied this, that we go for the unethical and the debaucherous first, and then we want good, wholesome, nice. Like, you got to be mean to get kind. Yeah, I'm going to be an asshole. Oh, look at that. I got to be kind now. I really want to be kind. I'm done being an asshole. So the question really is, how do you do this safely? YouTube. Be an asshole on YouTube, really. Like, and the reason why I say this is because you can turn it off. Like, you can put it on private. You can put it on things. Let people see it. I did. And I marked it. I literally marked it of, this is really where I'm mean. And it's a stage. That's what it looks like. That is exactly what it looks like. That's what being mean looks like. And sure enough, you can see me getting to the end of it of, oh, yeah, it's great because you can see it. And then I go, oh, I want to be kind now. I'm going to be kind now. I have learned kindness. I'm like, that's how you learn kindness. And then it was amazing because my partner did this. He was talking about how he used to be mean. And now he's one of the kindest persons I've ever met. And I'm like, wow, you are genuinely kind. And I was explaining it to a friend of mine. And he came back saying the same thing. He's like, I went through the same thing. I was really mean when I was 15. And I'm like, wow, it's fascinating. I never went through it. I never was mean. I saw what mean looks like. I saw cruel and inhumane at 4. So I went, I will never be mean. So I dedicated my life to being like a good person until I just couldn't handle it anymore at 44 and went, no, I'm going to be a bitch now. Like I said, you've got to get it out of your system. You've got to go through it. And we're drawn to this. We're pulled to it. We have to do it. Understanding how you indulge and moderate. And you've got to be free to move between these indulgences. This is a problem. Now, I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, that explains that. I'm going to tell you right now. Let's talk about polyamory and monogamy. If you go from celibacy right into monogamy, and you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. We have to go through polyamory to get to monogamy. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. The more I study it, it's very much polyamory and then monogamy, and then they kind of integrate into this weird thing. And same thing with celibacy to debauchery. And we move between celibacy, debauchery, polyamory, and monogamy. We move between these three things. And every one of us moves at a different pace, at a different time. So now when you're partnered up, if you're not in the same growth stage, this is why people have affairs, is because they've switched into the next stage and they need to go be polyamorous and debaucherous. And most likely they did it because they prematurely walked into the monogamous stage. You can't do that. That's not how we're designed. That's not how we're built. Everything in moderation. And that includes monogamy and polyamory. So this is going to be one of those things that really kicks up a lot of flies, is when you start talking about this kind of a topic, you get people, I'm going to be blunt, a person who is insecure, who has not done the mental work, and who has an emotional prosthetic because they are using their partner for their own security blanket because they won't do the work, will immediately scream about this, fight it, cling to their partner, and become obsessive. That's narcissism at work. So a narcissist is not going to take to this. Anyone contaminated with narcissism is not going to be okay with this. But you're also going to have people who were forced monogamy, and they're going to go swing the other way, and they're going to indulge in polyamory, and they're going to avoid monogamy. And now you've got people who are doing the opposite because they're back against the wall in avoidance stage of black and white. So now it runs the question of what is our natural state of being? And this is where you get a lot of people who scream. Some people say, well, monogamy, other people say polyamory, but I've seen some really unhealthy polyamory people using polyamory for all the wrong reasons. I've also seen polyamory couples settle down and settle into a monogamous relationship. I've also seen polyamory people claim they're monogamous, and as soon as they get into the right relationship, they settle down and become monogamous. I've also seen monogamous people go completely the other way and go completely polyamory the other way, and then they toggle between the two. It's really fascinating. It's almost to say that it's more of a monogamish-ish. That's really the best way to put it. And it's a matter of, you've got a lot of work to do with your sexuality if this is bringing up a whole lot of stuff. This is really what this is diving deep into your relationship with your own sexuality and what sex actually means, which I am still working that out because I have not yet gotten that far into my research. That's really way out there. It's extraordinary. I still have not come to it. And I'm like, wow, I'm just now getting into bonding and romantic partnerships, which isn't romance at all. That's a dirty word. It's bonding. There's no other word for it. So I'm just now getting into bonding. And I'm still haven't been able to get into what's going on with the sexual relationship. I still can't figure that thing out. I have to reverse engineer it still. And I don't know. So you've got bonding. Yeah. Bonding is definitely like, that's there. So when you get into, and this is the growing stage, this is 100% the growth stage. There's no way around this. This is the human condition. If you are not free to pass through this process, you are not going to be okay. The minute this process becomes disrupted, the rewiring of your subconscious mind begins. The minute this stops, mental illness has started. You have to have this in order to overcome mental illness. The absence of this is mental illness. Like there is no room for negotiation here. Somebody fucked up with your indulge A, indulge B, integrate A, B, indulge C, indulge D, integrate A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D is now the new foundation. Indulge E. This is growth. This is evolution. We literally stack our ethics on top of each other. That's all we do. And it must go through the starvation, gorge yourself stage. Get sated, gluttony yourself, get sick, get bored, get curious, wonder, and then choose something different. Resolution. And that pattern must be repeated over and over again. You go through 3 cycles of that pattern per one rotation is one ethical perspective. One rotation is one ethical perspective. 3 rotations gives you a cardinal value. Now we're talking about learning. So I've got a lot of people who aren't going through this. No one is going through this. And they're going, oh yeah, I'm learning. But are you shifting? Because if you're not shifting, if you are not going through this process, no, you're not learning because you're not integrating anything. You're just cramming information into your mind. So are you cramming information into your mind, or are you going through the indulge, and integrate pattern? And this is the problem right here, is people think information cramming is learning. That's not learning. The only time that's learning is when, no, it's the constant indulgence of music theory, constant indulgence of learning and doing and playing the piano and singing it and writing the compositions that it snaps. And that's what puts you over. It's the constant indulgence and how much or how fast you indulge. It's not the reading about the physics. It's the you actually inventing the physics. It's you doing the physics that causes this. You have to indulge in practice. And that's really what you are doing. You are indulging in practice, which is why it's called practical. And when you choose a new skill, what you're really doing is choosing to indulge on something new. But it's going to have an alternative. It's going to have a sister relationship to something. So, for instance, I wanted to play piano. I wanted to sing. Or, well, let's just do musical composition. I wanted to do musical composition. The flip side of doing musical composition would be dancing to musical composition or singing to musical composition. It would be performing it. And then I indulged on the performance of it. And then I danced and I indulged on the dance of it. After a while, I wanted to read a book. And then I read the book. I read nothing but books. And then I wanted to write my own. So I wrote my own. After I wrote, well, it's amazing how I skipped the art again. Like, it's just not in my brain, and it really needs to be. Like, I need to go back and pick that out as to why I don't have any interest in it. That's interesting. I did have interest in it. I spent like 3 years going to all the museums in New York City, studying all of the art styles, analyzing the stories. So I did it theoretically. Oh, I studied a lot of theoretical art. And then I just shut my brain off and I drew, or I painted, or I sculpted, and my brain shut down. But I did the theory work. I don't know. I can't figure out what's going on with me and art. And then I indulged on, well, yeah, I danced, and then I indulged on paint. I was constantly in museums. From 1995 to 2001, I was in nothing but museums. Like, that's all I did for 6 years, was just museum research. Every museum, every one, all of them. So I had a lot of museum study. I think I am officially still burnt out from the amount of museum study. A little part of me kind of wants to go back. Like, that's how much I indulged on museums. So I can't really say I skipped the art. I just did it differently. I just studied literally the artist's life, the entire movement, the whole history of. I did everything except paint. So it's really, the question is, what skills do you want? What skills do you want to be a master in? And the next question to ask is, what academic disciplines, where do you want to take your academic disciplines? Now, there's going to be a couple things here. And this is the beautiful thing about it. You do not have to choose an academic discipline that's all the way out in the future. You don't have to, not at all. I never did. It was ooh, music is interesting. Ooh, this is interesting. This is interesting. So I was totally like blinded, and it was just this is interesting to me. I did not have a path. I just picked up whatever I want and I devoured it. And I did not get off of a subject until I was done with the subject. This was vital to the Asha journey. This is the Asha journey. When you have an interest in a subject, in an academic discipline, there is nothing else. When I did my music, there was nothing else. Everything else was dead to me. You must exhaust it. This is the number one rule of all academic discipline within these walls. If you are on an Asha journey, there is one rule. You pick up an academic discipline, you exhaust it. There is nothing else. You do not toggle it with 2 or 3 other things. You can start to toggle it with a second thing later, but you focus. So what's going to end up happening is you end up indulging on A. And once you get A down, you're actually going to start indulging on C while you indulge on A. Then you're going to get done with A and you're going to pick up B. And then you're going to be halfway through C and you're going to pick up D. Actually, you're going to go to E. And you're going to end up toggling it like this. Never do more than 3. Never do more than 3. You should be studying at first 1, and then you're going to branch off and start to study a second profession right alongside it. This is how it's done. So you're going to start with music, but then like I started music and I did music and dance. Those two toggled each other. And then as my music finished up, God, my music finished up. It didn't. I danced. After I danced, it moved into the art. And as it moved into the art, my music continued. And then I picked up reading. Now, I did not, so I had reading, I had music, I had art. So I was doing musical composition while I was studying art, while I was reading. I dropped musical composition in 2021, or in 2001, I dropped musical composition, and then I picked up writing. And there was the end of it. So there's writing. Writing never left me after that. And then art ended. And when art ended, I picked up more history. I specifically picked up, oh God, see, now I'm getting like, this is where it starts to branch out. History. Yeah, I went history. So as I picked up writing, I went into history. So, and I exhausted it. Once I exhausted it, then I went into the next one. So, and then it started to form, it literally formed a tree. I could see the tree unfolding and I was like, oh, there's a tree happening here. Now, it wasn't until I got to it was biophys. And it was dimension theory. And it was quantum physics. And then there's a physics beyond quantum physics that's also my physics, and that's the one. Yeah, I think I'm just all burned out with art. I think that's it. So it was much later that I saw these studies and I went, oh, that's where I'm going. So I saw them in my travels and I went, I want to be there. I want to be there. And I was 40 years into this journey before I realized that. So looking at you should never ask, what job do I want to be when you grow up? Ask, what academic disciplines do you want to master? Because whatever you choose for an academic discipline, that's whatever job. Your job will just merge from whatever the fuck you put together. It's like a cocktail, and you got this weird thing, and then you're going to develop something, and it's going to go, okay, now what do I do with all this weird shit? And poof, I'm an author because I had to put all this weird shit somewhere. And then I formed my school. So it's all now together. And that is really that is the difference between the Asha journey and any other experience. That's what it looks like. You are literally piecemealing and putting together, you're stringing together your entire academic discipline tree. And once you start doing this, and again, it's all about indulge. It's you indulge, you exhaust it. And once you exhaust it, and once you exhaust it, it doesn't matter if you've exhausted the subject or your interest in the subject, but you got to stick with it. No one can interfere with this. You've got to stick with it. And as soon as you figure this out, as soon as you get to that point where you know how to exhaust a subject, you know you're teacher free. You're done. You never again need another teacher. What you really need is a massive map of all the academic disciplines. And then it's, which ones do you want? Which ones interest you? But you don't want to look at the ones that are all the way in the back because you don't know what those are yet. So you're going to want to start with just music, art. And by the time you get to physics, I'm going to tell you right now, when you get to physics, that's when you're finally able to understand, oh, now I know what all of those are. Now let's look at everything after physics. Because now I can say, all right, you've got physics down, great. Now chemistry is the ability to take any of these subjects and combine them together to see how they react. That's chemistry. Biology is the integration of all of them at the same time to see how they react. That's biology. Ontology, well, it's just a fancy name for astronomy. It's just astronomy. So, yeah, that's it. Chemistry and biology. Chemistry is how two things come together on one scale to react. Whereas you've got biology, which is how to bring all of them together into a complete integration of a subject. And then it's, all right, now let's break down the biology. What do you want to study? And that's when you look at the study of the biology. Now, if you have no interest in and here's the thing, is you're going to get to a point. This is the thing that's just screaming in my head. If a human being were allowed to learn like this, by the time the child is 15, they're done. They've already gone through all of biology. They're done. It's only 5,400 pages total. When you get through all of it, you're done. And that's when you realize you have an interest in all of it. You just need to indulge and exhaust it on whatever subject that's there. So the question is, okay, now where's your forte? Now, an Asha is somebody who has no forte. I mean, we do, but our goal is to make it all equal. So it's growing all the parts of the academic disciplines equally. So, which is why I'm festering over the art, going, oh my God, what if it's falling behind? What does it do for me? Because I have to make sure that I need this. And that's constantly in my head. Every day that goes by and I don't do art, I have art supplies, but it looks like a kindergarten drew the paintings. And I'm going, I have no idea to measure any of this. And I'm constantly interviewing and analyzing my art daughter, my art friend, going, what is this? How does it work in your brain? Because I'm trying to understand the theory of what art is. It's very confusing for me. But because it's like this for me, I don't have any reference. So I'm wondering, how is the absence of art affecting my entire comprehension of knowledge in general? And I just can't answer that. I just don't know. I just don't know. It is a very clear human part of our existence. It fascinates me. So the skills, I hate the word skill. I really hate the word skill because when you think about doing, like I really want to reverse engineer the entire concept of a skill because I got a lot in my head that I'm going, all right, let's do this. Because I'm thinking, what can you do? Now, this is it right here. There's hands-on skills. And that's when you can do carpentry. That's when you can do foundational skills. That's all I can think about is foundational skills. So when you do hands-on skills, and I think this is what everybody thinks is, and that's a tradesman. So you've got your foundation hands-on. That would be cooking. And I think that's what comes to most everybody's mind when we think about skills is the hands-on foundational cooking, carpentry. But then there's the computer people. And they are the people who can do some really amazing shit with their skills, like coding, which is just logic. And I'm going, well, what about the people who know how to like assembly lining skills? You mean you know how to obey and follow directions? Is obedience and following directions? That's not a skill. That is mindlessness. That is mindlessness. I know that because I studied it extensively. My stepfather had a job where all he had to do, he was a machinist, which meant he picked up a thing, he put it in the slot, he pushed a button. Mindless, no thought, and it literally drained him. And he did that for about 15 years. Same thing every day. Pick up a piece, put it in the machine, push a button. He literally was doing the job of a robot. There's no other word for it. It's a robot job. Robot jobs are a big problem for the human mind. They are literally like a death sentence for the mind. It's literally a decomposition factory. And that's obedience and follow direction. There is no thought to it, hence a robot job. This is not a skill. It is not a skill. Now you've got office jobs. Office. And this is where you know how to use a machine. You might know how to use a printer. You know how to use a computer. You know how to use a fax machine. You can load up the printer in the office without getting ink all over the place or calling tech. That's a skill. It is your ability to type. Now, this is interesting because typing, piano playing, and writing are all like there. Now, there's also calculative skills, and that's where we're getting into your math skills, your bookkeepers. So the question is, when you're looking at, do you know how to? So let's do the whole, do you know how to? Now, there's also software programs. Every time you start a job in an office, you have to learn the software. I learned over like 8 different software programs. It was extraordinary. And I did not know that learning those programs actually added to your resume. And I learned that later and I went, oh, I know. And I added them all up. So, so that's a, do you know how to? So now you're talking about basically instructions for user manuals. So you memorize a user manual and that's it. And you just know operating instructions. So we're back to operating instructions. So operating instructions is where you've got the secretaries literally doing all of the office work, and that's your operating instructions. That is not a skill. I've done that job a lot. It's not a skill. Anyone can do that. A fucking monkey can do that shit. It's not a skill. Is it tiring? Yes. Is it tedious? Yes. Is it exhausting? Yes. Is it stressful? Yes. Is it skillful? No. A monkey can do it. There is no skill in that. It is one step above mindless robot. So now you're looking at computer tech coding. Now that's authorship. I do believe we have the common denominator. I found it. You have to be an author. Or you're a copycat. There you go. There's the divide. I was looking for that. You're either an author or a copycat. Having to calculate mathematics in your job is a skill. That is a skill. That is called mental diversification. That is a fucking skill. Now, communication is a skill. So what I'm looking at is there are cultivators, visionaries, right? But foundational has cooking, carpentry. Those are skills. So what the fuck is this mindless robot job and the learn how to operate these instruction manual and then rinse and repeat? Which is no different than the machinist standing there, putting something here and pushing a button. And you're literally paying people to do robot jobs. You are literally paying people to do robot jobs. What a waste of a human mind. What a waste of a human mind. Wow. Problem solving and creation are the two common denominators I am noticing. You've got problem solving and you have creation. And then you've got a grunt. And the grunt is your mindless robot job. You've got clean grunts and you've got factory level grunts. And they're being, wow. Problem solving are the people who do the calculations. They're the ones who do the communications. Those are the ones who do the coding. That would be problem solving, in some cases, even creation. So you have problem solving creation. When you're doing calculated math and you're problem solving, that's all, again, problem solving creation. And then when you do your creation, like that, there's no ifs, ands. You're an author at that point. You're basically creating until you hit a problem, and then you problem solve. And then you do more creating, and you problem solve. And what you're creating is logical comprehension. Or, well, a story, same thing. Logical comprehension is a story. Or, son of a fucking bitch. Is that what I did? When I studied art, what I really did was compose the story. So when I did art, I translated it over into story and I found the logical order of events so I could understand it. I logicized my art studies. That's what I did. I converted my art studies completely over to logic. I spent 5 to 6 years in museums putting together the logical story of how art transgressed through the ages. That's what I did. Well, of course you don't do it. You actually do the art. I just built the logical story of it. So I built the logical story of it. And now I'm like, yep, I'm good. I got the story of art. That's what I did for art. And then I would study the styles. I would do the styles to learn the style. Okay, yeah, I got Van Gogh down. And then I would go into the next one. Yep, okay, I got Georgia O'Keeffe. I used to do some really great Georgia O'Keeffe. I was great with copying her style. But creating my own? No, I was a translator. That's interesting. I was a translator when it came to art. I was not the author. This is fascinating. This is fascinating. I see this theme over and over again where you're the author or you're the translator. And there it is. I think this is right down. And then you've got people who do the quality control thing, the quality control people, which are the preservations. They preserve the knowledge. Yeah, your job is not to pass on the knowledge. Your job is to preserve it so that as people pick it up and go with it, it's like, do you want the Asha standard? Because the Asha standard is high. The Asha standard is like it's at the top. There's nothing higher than the Asha standard. So you can learn, sure. But if you want the Asha standard, oh yeah, the Asha standard. And that's what this is. It's the Asha standard. This is I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Because I'm understanding me more and more. I see, I'm huge on, I'll be sitting here lounging around. People will come over, we'll talk, we'll chat, and they'll ask me questions. And I never stop to say, I'm from the Asha standard, which means I'm not going to teach you unless you're seeking the Asha standard. If you're not looking for the Asha standard, leave me alone. I'm not for people who are not looking for the Asha standard. If you want slop, you got a whole world out there of schlop. I'm talking about the Asha standard. And I get a lot of people who want the schlop, who want to argue with me about their schlop. And I'm like, no. I only talk on the Asha standard. I only look at the Asha standard. To me, there is nothing else. There isn't, because I could prove it. What else is this? Is why we have the Asha standard. It's because of everything else that there's the Asha standard. So this makes sense now. This makes sense. So when you're looking, and this is what it comes down to. You're a preserver. You preserve the standard, and that's it. The author translates it, or the author invents it. They are the creator. The translator literally masters it. They don't author it. They master it. They become an expert to it. And then they translate it. Now this is, and that's it exactly. And then they translate it. Now when they translate it, and that's when you see a condensed book of 300 pages of this is everything you need to know. Now looking at something like and then you step in with the preservation of it. And now it's like, all right, let's preserve the standard. And that's it. That is your only, when you are talking about knowledge, you need to decide if you are going to be an author, a translator, or somebody who preserves it, preserves the standard of what this is. And that's all. Those are your only options. The word author only belongs to somebody who has created, invented a book, a creation, or an academic discipline. They are the only authority. I am the only authority of my books. You better believe it, because they're my books. I invented them. Same thing which is why we call it an author, because I'm the authority of my books. Now, I can never be an authority of any other books other than my own. I can be an expert, but I cannot be an authority because I didn't write them. Just like with an academic discipline. If you didn't fucking write the academic discipline, you're not an authority on it. Whatever the fuck this science is, I'm the authority because I found it and I'm translating it and I'm figuring it out and I'm decoding it because I'm the author, because I found it. It's on the other side of science. So when you start ripping this thing apart and dissecting, and then I got these peons sitting there going, this is what I think. Well, I'm glad you have it figured out. I mean, I'm the author, but sure, thanks. That's like you're sitting here trying to write a book. And you got people going, oh no, you got that part right. Excuse you. Writing a book here. Like, that's the level. Now you get it. There's the level. So when you decide, oh, I want to, like, for instance, I could come along to Nietzsche's work. Now, he's the author. I can be the expert of Nietzsche. I can study the hell out of that man and his books. And then I can give my interpretation. But now this is where it gets interesting. When you interpret someone like that, is your agenda to your own interpretation or to the author? Now it matters. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is where I have a huge problem with any kind of college linguistics study, not linguistics, literary study. Oh, I have a big problem with this. This is where so we're going to hand you Frankenstein. We're all going to read Frankenstein. Now, the author is Mary Shelley, which means she's the authority. She's got final say. Whatever she says the book is about, she trumps all here because she's the author. She is the god of Frankenstein. We are all interpreters. Now, we all can study Mary Shelley, her science, everything about it. And at the end of the day, we all can give our interpretation. But only the expert of Mary Shelley can give a most accurate translation. But here's the question. Are you giving your translation, or are you trying to revive and give the interpretation of? And this is vital. You have to remove all bias. And this is where, with Asha, the goal is the truth. Just the truth, pure truth. Now, Solomon went on the same journey I did. The Zoroastrians went on the same journey I did. Pythagoras went on the same journey I did. And Euclid and Aristotle and Plato went on the same journey I did. And they all came up with a variation and an interpretation. Now I'm going, where's the common denominators? So I took all of our common denominators and I put them together and I went, these are all the common denominators. And here's my own translation that I found in relation to, in relativity to what everyone else came up with. And I created my interpretation before I found everyone but Plato's. I read Sophie's World and that was all I did. So if it's in Sophie's World, I knew it. And then from there, it was okay, this is it. These are all the common denominators. Now, when you do it properly, you'll all get the same answer. When it's done right, you all get the same answer. I got the same answer as Zoroaster. I got the same answer as Solomon. I got the same answer as Pythagoras. I got mostly the same answer as Plato. Plato and I have there's a few things where I'm going, dude, you got that. But he made a few mistakes. So once you start to realize that, oh, I got the same answer as everybody else, well, boom, there's the truth. So now you take that truth. Now we have the beginning of a logical chain. Now, everything has to conform to the common denominators of the truth, because you got 7 geniuses here and we all came up with the same answer. So we take our 7 answers. Again, look for just the common denominators, and they're all common. It's extra. It's like a 98% accuracy rating. Like we are all 98% matched. It's that fucking pure of logic and truth. And now it's okay. Now we keep cleaning it out. We keep puring it out. We're literally purifying the truth. So it's not about making sure I'm resurrecting this according to precisely to Solomon or Zoroaster or Pythagoras. It's the truth. Now you're an author. And whether or not, and this is it right here, is there's a lot of people who are trying to author. You see a lot of authors right now, and they're trying to, it's really chaotic out there. I have no way to explain this. I've seen it, and it's chaos. They are trying to author without linguistics or logic. It's like watching kindergartners trying to cook a souffle. It's exactly like watching kindergartners cook a souffle. And it's just this. They are not at the Asha standard. They are not at the Asha standard. That's all I'm going to say about that. So once you understand that, do I want to be an author? Do I want to be a translator? Do I want to be a preserver? Now, let's look at the subjects to study. Does music interest you? Really, there's nothing, you must start with music. Now, and this is curious, are you going to do the logical comprehension of the story of music, or are you going to actually compose it? So, and I remember this now, you either have to compose the logical comprehension of the story, or you have to do it. So you can do the sit-down academic way, or you can actually do it. Now, here's the catch. if you're going to do the logical comprehension of the story, you're still going to have to do it. You're still going to have to do it. But do not do that if you're looking for the mastery of it. I'm not looking for the mastery of art. I am not looking for the mastery of, I am not interested. I'm not interested at all. So the logical comprehension and the story of was sufficient. I was thorough. Good God, was I thorough. I needed the entire logical comprehension and all the story that was art. And I got it. It took me 5 to 6 years of diving into every museum you can think of, but I got the full and complete logical comprehension of all of art everywhere from the beginning of time and how it evolved. I put together the story. Now, while I was putting together the story, 4 of those years, I did all of the art. It was just at I understand, I get the gist. Okay, this is definitely not my thing. But like in musical composition, I did it. It was, I needed the logical comprehension of the story and, oh, I did it. So it's the doing it that sets the standard. Now, if you want to be a master at something, you're going to have to do it at mastery level. You're going to have to do it until you reach mastery level, which means you're going to have to do it. And when you are looking at, I am a firm believer that everything we need is right inside the academic disciplines. So let me explain this to you. The academic disciplines are the tools. They're not the subject. They're the tools. You are the subject. Your English teacher should have taught you that. You are actually the subject. The subject is the tool. Remember, when you study, you're going into the story. So by doing it, you are in the story. Now, those who are serious about the Asha journey, all of the disciplines. Which ones you want to master, it's up to you. But if you don't want to master it, you still have to go through the logical comprehension of the story. You must, because that is a foundation to where you're going. For me, I went for a mastery in music, in song, and dance. And then I went for nothing at all with art. Like that was not my mastery. So I just did the logical comprehension of the story with, I would say, apprentice level standards. And I knew it was apprentice. It's not my thing. And then with reading, writing, and arithmetic, that was an absolute mastery. That was, oh, good God, my reading was aggressive. Yeah, I remember my master. Oh, boy, did they teach me how to read. And then after that, it was theater, stage, epic poetry. Yeah, I went nuts with that. I went all out mastery again with that one. And then after that, it was linguistics, logic. We know what I did there. Yeah. And that was my, oh no, I'm going all the way, people. There is no end for me there. And then after that came the physics, chemistry. I never set a standard. The standard was, well, then there was a point where it was knowledge, pure wisdom, Asha, there you go, at the very, very, very top. Now, my physics studies, mastery. Chemistry, I take what I need. I got the bare essentials. I did the basics. I got the basics. And by then, and this is where I could look at it, reverse engineer a couple pieces and be, okay, I got that. Same thing with astrology and astronomy. I just picked up a couple pieces, but I had so much substantial other mastery behind me that those just clicked into place. So I have, if it's needed, it falls into place. If it's needed. Now, where I'm wanting to go, it all goes back to linguistics and logic, which is now my massive forte of, okay, no, I'm going that route of spell work, spellcraft. And I said, I'm not going to touch alchemy. I know I'm not going to touch alchemy. I won't touch alchemy. That's so later. That's after I have exhaust it. You find something and you exhaust it. So right now I'm on the whole linguistics and exhaust it. That's where my kick is right now. Exhausting linguistics and, well, logic, I don't have to exhaust. That's done. That is done. I wrote the book on logic. And so it's literally just pouring through everything I need with linguistics. I have to go back on theater, stage. I have to go back on music. So music, theater, stage, epic poetry, I have to go back on, meter, prose, linguistics. So I'm going back now and I'm revisiting all of those and plugging it back in. Now, this time, I won't be going with the logical comprehension story because I already have that. Now I'm going to be doing. Like, it's going to be the hardcore, all right, let's dissect this, let's learn it, let's do it. Yeah. So it's when you get to, and it truly is, it's when you get to physics that you start, the whole thing just kind of branches off into, okay, now where do you want to take it? And the whole thing opens up for what are you going to study next? And that's really when you get to an idea of where it is you want to take everything. But it does keep coming back to the logical comprehension of story and the doing. And knowing, are you looking to author it? Are you looking to translate it? Or are you looking to preserve it? Now, the translator has to be as good as the, oh, well, you can't be as good as the author. You have to be an expert on the author. The preservation of it, you have to be at least a master. You've got to be an expert. You cannot preserve it if you don't know what you're trying to preserve, if you're not upholding that standard. You have to be at least a master in order to preserve it. I'm back to that again. You've got to be a master. And Asha would never teach below mastery level. Never. And Asha would wait until they were a philosopher. They would complete their mastery before they would start teaching, because they would refine it before they take it back to people. So you would be at the 4th stage of apprenticeship of the scale development before you even think of taking on a student. That would be a philosopher. But again, you should only be learning, and Asha only learns the journey, how to learn, and then you're on your own, because that's the journey, is you doing the logical comprehension story. So we can write up a curriculum, and I'll give you the same curriculum Plato gave me. It's literally the academic disciplines. But the difference is you have to exhaust it. You have to study it until you've exhausted it. And either you are looking to put together the logical comprehension of the story, you're looking to tell the story, or you can do it. Those are your options. Are you going to tell me the story, or are you going to do it? Do you want to be a master? Well, I want the story and the doing. So masters can tell you the story and they can do it. If you want to be, and that's it. Anyone who is master and above has to be able to do the story and to do it. There's just no. If you're not wanting to be a master in it, well, then you just have to do the story. The story is mandatory. You must understand the story of it. So that's really what you're doing, is you're putting together the story of art. You're putting together the story of art. You are putting the story together of music. You're putting together the story, wow, you really are, of reading and writing and communication. Every academic discipline has its story, and you do it. And everyone should be studying the story of all of it. It's just no question. You need to walk away with 18 different stories. 18 different stories, which is why you sit down and you read the 300 pages and, okay, there you go. There's music theory. And then I got the music theory. Now let's build the story. How did music evolve? And then you see how music moves through the ages. And yeah, it was about 2 years worth of work for me, just 2 years worth of work to build the story. So you're looking at actually building the story over 2 years. Now, if you want to add the doing to it, but again, so I really want to write this down. So if you're building the story of music, and here's the thing is, when you are below a certain age, you're already doing it. You're already doing music. You're already doing all of these other things. You're already doing dance. And then when you come into that structure, it's okay, let's go over the story of music. But you have to build the story of music. I would say that starts at 12. You have to start building the stories at 12. Story building. And to start the story, you always go back to the beginning of where did this subject come from? What is the story of this subject? That's what history really is. You're supposed to be studying the history of the subjects, not the people. That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. You study the story of the subject you're studying, not the styles of you never study the people. You see how it moved. You see how it moved through time. Literally, and that's all it is. It's how did this move through time? How did this grow? You are studying the growth of the subject. That is what you are doing when you are putting together the story. And then when you step into the academic discipline and you decide to do it, but you would only do that again. So it's like, do you want to do 2 years of this subject or do you want to do 4 years of this subject? Do you want to just build a story? And the subjects, there's only 6 of them. There's only 6 of them. Each one has 3, but there's pretty much only, so it works like this. Yeah, there's only 6 of them. So the first one is music. And you have song and dance. Music, song, dance. You cannot study one of these subjects and not run into the other. You can't. It's the same subject. So you're either going to do 2 years of this subject where you're just building the story, or you're going to do whenever you're done indulging in it. If you're not interested in music, you're looking at just build the story. Just build the story. How did music get to be here where it is? Follow it through the ages. How did it evolve? How did it move? What were the stages it grew through? You're studying the growth of music. And the second one is going to be art. Again, you can't touch drawing, painting, and sculpting without getting all 3 of them thrown together. So you're just doing art. And again, it's going to be put together the story. Now, I took 5 to 6 years with my story. And I also did a mediocre job with it. Again, I have no idea if it was good or bad. I have no idea the quality. I just did it for 5 to 6 years. And then after art, yeah, you have the reading and you have writing. The story, let's call it what it is. Call it what it is. Storytelling. You have storytelling. You're going to literally follow the story of story. That's what you're studying, is the story of story. I bet you never studied that subject. I did. It's amazing. You get to see how oral tradition and everything just kind of moved. You study how writing came into existence. You study what it really is writing and story. That is really what you're studying, writing and story. And then after writing, and arithmetic is an early form of writing, because you have the written word and then you've got the numeric word. Same thing. Hieroglyphics, it's all the same thing. So you're looking at writing and story. That's it, which is actually logic. And then from there, you get into performance, theater, stage. You're looking at poetry. And that's where that meter, that metric comes into it. So now we're up to the 5th one, and it's a story on theater, stage, poetry. And then after that, you would be stepping into the world of linguistics, logic, and math. And again, it's the story of these things. Now, this is where it breaks off. This is really where it breaks off, because now you've stepped into the world of communication. Completely different mindset, completely different every part of the brain. Linguistics, logic, and math is you're doing it now. You're doing it. You're comprehending it. You see, it's you are breaking down the image into actual word now. You are moving from image into word. As soon as you cross into linguistics, the world of imagery ends and you're stepping into the world of word. And then into the, you start, as soon as you hit linguistics, you're into the world of science instantly. You're into, you know what? That's it. I'm taking linguistics, I'm taking logic, and I'm taking math, and I'm going, these are sciences. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm making a science out of linguistics and logic, because what's been done is a disgusting. Asha. That's it. Yeah, there you go. So breaking it down into word. This is where I say this is where I have no imagery. There's no images. When I write story, when I write story, then the images pop up. I always see the word first, and then it pops up. And when I'm reading a story, I get to translate it into the words. When I look at a picture, I go, where the fuck are all the words? Like, I really struggle. I hate picture books. The best picture book in the world is this book has no pictures. So, and that's really it. And then you have physics, ontology, and chemistry. And once you break it down like this, once you really can see the beauty of this thing move, you are literally, you have the foundation of logic through all the story that you had. You are literally organizing the logical order of events through history as to how these things came into being. And you can do a full comprehensive story alongside with doing the work. And you can still walk away with substantial knowledge. Okay, I understand it. And that's what you're doing, is you are understanding. This is literally how you integrate understanding inside of you. You must understand the story. You have to have the story in order to understand it. This is how we meet people. What we're really looking for is their story. When you meet somebody, you don't know who they are until you've met their story. And that's it, is you are story building. So people know who you are. Without story building, you won't know who you are. Which is why you go on the learning journey, is so you can learn the science of story. And as you go through it, you become it. And now you know who you are in relativity to all of these subjects. I'm going to be going through and handing you the books that I read. That required, it's literally just the stepping stones of all of it. That required absolutely no teachers. It was just, order of operations, read these books in the right order, and you have the summation of everything you need. And once you do that, it's powerful. You are set. And the idea is you can have, and here's it, when you study, you have an overview. The overview should never be more than about 400 pages. You should never have an overview extending 400 pages. If you have an overview that goes more than 400, you are talking about a dense piece of literature. The overview, and I do mean the entire subject, should be spoken about in 400 pages or less. 300, the whole damn subject. Now let's take a math book. A math book is going to be filled with examples and practicing. That's not it. I'm talking about just the bare theory. When you look at the bare theory, it should only be 300 words. And the subjects are music theory, art, story and writing. And I'm telling you right now, story writing does not exist. Theater stage, poetry. And then, see, and here what I see is education. I see this whole thing as being education as another story. That's like the whole umbrella of it all. Theater stage, poetry, and then you get into the logic section, and then you get into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who did I miss? Music, art, story. Who am I missing? Reading, writing, arithmetic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who am I missing? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Why can I not remember? Like, I just wrote this down. Music, song, dance, art, reading, writing, arithmetic, theater, stage, poetry. Oh, because I was counting physics, ontology, and chemistry is the last one. That is why. Because I was counting physics, chemistry, and ontology. Okay, that's why. It's like, where did it go? I'm missing something here. I had 6. So yeah, I mean, it's complete. 6. There's only 6. Biology, and this is the beautiful part. Biology is the integration of it all. Biology integrates it all. Education is the be all. Okay, let's talk about the story of education. This is how we're going to integrate everything into biology. You have 6 subjects that get integrated into biology, and it is music, art, story, theater, stage, logic, and then physics, chem, ontology. When you break down those 6 subjects, each one of them then has a subject of 3 attached to it. When you integrate all of them into biology, you now have your entire logical data code. You now have full comprehension of the universe. You now can walk around pretty much and go, oh, I understand everything now. Now you have full sound. There you go. That is the human being. It is all of the summation of integrated biology, which is the summation of all 6 arts. There you go. You've got 6 disciplines. You've only got 6 disciplines. 6 disciplines that go into biology, that goes into education. And then I've got this really weird science, whatever the fuck this is, over that. I have no idea what this is. But there you go. That is the summation of education. So now, which of those 6? See, doesn't that sound better? You've only got 6 subjects to study from. Now, you can sit down and break them down. How would you like to do this? Where do you want to emphasize? Which areas are important to you? Now, if you're going to go physics, chemistry, and ontology, I'm going to tell you right now, this is absolutely an order of operations. You have to start with music and go down. Now, if you decide to only go down as far as art, you're only going to get 2 of your codes. You still have to complete all of it. You really need to complete all 6 of them. Now, whether or not you want to dissect each and every one of these, I didn't with art. With art, I did not dissect drawing and painting and sculpting. I lumped it all together. So when I did art, it was 5 to 6 years of just, okay, I'm studying art. And I was just composing the entire story of all of art in its progression through history. That's all I was doing. History should not be given to you. You need to go find it. History is the scavenger hunt. You have no idea. It's the scavenger hunt. It's the archaeology. History is the subject. Did you notice that it was not here? It's because it's the doing. History is the actual thing you're going to be doing. Now, assemble the history, show me the story. That's what you're doing. And as you assemble the history, you can dabble. So as you assemble the history of music, you're going to have to learn how to play an instrument to figure out what they're talking about. And then as you play the instrument to figure out, oh, that's like I had to learn every fucking instrument. I've played over 30 instruments badly, but I had to learn them. I couldn't look at the guitar chords without comprehending what I was looking at. So I had to learn how to hold a guitar. I couldn't look at the harp line of an orchestration without playing the harp. So, oh yeah, I wanted to be an orchestra. I was learning orchestration. So in order to learn orchestration, I had to go through and study the anatomy of every instrument. The anatomy of every instrument. Everything in our world is condensed into these 6 subjects for the foundation. This is just the foundation. And you do not have to dissect. The dissection of these subjects is up to the student. You do not need to have your hand walked through the dissection of these subjects. You should never. If you are dissecting one of these subjects, it's because you love it. So you do not need a teacher holding your hand through this dissection of subject. So the first thing you need to ask is, am I dissecting this, or is this a building block to get to the next stage because I want to be a physicist, but I don't want to study music, or I don't want to study. So this is where you're still going to have to compose the story. But the question is, do I dissect it? Now, I did not dissect art. I built the story. So I dissected it only as much as needed. And there it is, only as much as needed. And basically, I did it until I got to a point where it moved fluid. So I had nothing obstructing me. I could just move through it. Once I realized I could move through it, I went, oh, I've got everything I need. I can move through it fluently without a problem. There's going to be some subjects that are absolutely dependent. For instance, if you step into the world of theater, stage, and poetry, and you're constantly stuck and you're constantly tripping, I can tell you right now, you messed up somewhere in the back. It should be fluid for you. It should be absolutely effortless and smooth. Now, I'm going to warn you, you're going to get to points where people tamper with the information, which means you're going to have to problem solve and actually go digging the truth. Now, where I found the truth, that's where I plug it into my Asha Journey, my free course. And that's to show you, look, I already did the work. I already had to problem solve and get through their lies and bullshit. I've already purified what they had. Here's the truth. And then I cite all of my sources so you can see it. So yeah, that's it really. That's it really. Now, when you get to the point of pioneering and exploration, you are at pioneering and exploration when you are doing something no one has done before you. When you get to a point where no one has done this before you, you're pioneering and you're exploring it like you were there. It's when you are the author. And this is something I ran into with Plato and with Pythagoras, where I would be doing my work, I'd be reverse engineering. For instance, I discovered the Descartes coordinate system. So did Descartes, but he got naming rights, so it's his. So I unnecessarily reverse engineered Descartes' Cartesian coordinate system. I don't get to claim that. That's not mine. He already did it. It's got his name all over it. So you're going to find that. I found the Coriolis force without studying it. I found it. I went, oh, look at this. I did Fleming's left-hand law. I found that. Later, when I was studying mathematics, I went, oh, look at that. Somebody already found. I don't have naming rights. I could not name Fleming's left-hand rule. That was not mine. I could not name the Coriolis force. Coriolis already found that for me. They got dibs. So because they're the original author, oh, I just get to confirm. Okay, got that, compared it to them. Yep, it matches. We're good. Moving on. That's actually one of the things that I did to figure out that I was hitting milestones, is I was reverse engineering the same math that had already been invented. And I kept doing it until I couldn't find a match. The philosopher's compass with the triangle, I found that with Pythagoras, but he only completed one triangle. And I went, wait a minute, Pythagoras never completed this. Now it's the philosopher's compass. This is mine. So there's other things with Plato where I took it to the next level. I can see where he starts and I begin. So once you get to a point where, and this is where it comes down to, is, has somebody been here before you? And if you're going like integrated mathematics, no one's done integrated mathematics before. So I'm looking at it going, all right, we got integrated mathematics. And when you're doing pioneering and exploration, it is absolutely the science of being able to name it. This is where you get into naming rights. And if you name something that somebody else is already, it's not immediately invalid. You've got to change the name over to whoever named it, naming rights. And this is it right here. This is what naming rights is. So as you reverse engineer this stuff, and here's the other thing, with Asha, you have to have the science to back it up. It doesn't matter what you want to say. If you cannot prove it with logic, with math, and with physics, it's garbage. At this point, if you can reverse engineer something, if you cannot prove it with logic, math, and physics, then you are not reverse engineering the logic, math, and physics properly enough. You're not doing it, which means you are not educated enough to be the author. Right there. If you cannot even reverse engineer the logic, the math, and the physics, then what are you doing? And this is where, and this is it right here, is when you've got it right, the whole thing will just flow right to you. It will absolutely flood to you. So honestly, yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. And this is the thing that's fascinating to me is when you start pioneering and exploring, you're going to be pioneering someone else's stuff already. I did. I pioneered Descartes. And I'm like, oh, look what I'm inventing or discovering. And then, well, Descartes already done this. All right, cool. It's right. That's all you can do. So, and this is where it gets interesting is I'll talk to Vaunts and they'll sit there and brag about what they're reverse engineering. And I'm going, okay, great. But you're doing the work of Nietzsche. Like you're just reinventing Nietzsche. He's already got naming rights. So, and it's just, it means you're on the right path, but it means you also have a long way to go. If you're doing the work of Nietzsche and you've got a long way to go. A long way to go. So it's really this massive, you know where you are in your education when you can reverse engineer it and see precisely where it's lining up. That's it right there. If you are authoring stuff and there's things you can author at the 6th perspective, there's going to be things you can author at the 8th perspective. You cannot access some of this authorship until you exceed a perspective. This is actually how I know where people are, is when they tell me what they've discovered and they're all describing 6th perspective authorship. I'm like, yep, you're in the 6th perspective. That's what you can author. It's assigned. Every authorship, I should probably lead with this. Every authorship is already designated a subject of study. Every authorship. Music theory is reversed engineered at the 2nd ethic. You can reverse engineer music theory at the 2nd ethic. Yeah. You can reverse engineer music theory at the 2nd ethic. You can reverse engineer art at the 3rd ethic. You can reverse engineer art at the 3rd ethic. You can reverse engineer you can reverse engineer logic at the 11th ethic. Yeah, like it's got its name on it. The 11th ethic is logic. You can reverse engineer logic at the 11th ethic. Then I could have, yeah. And then at the 12th ethic, I could reverse engineer math and physics. You can reverse engineer. You're given access to it. So when I look at somebody and they're providing, I can reverse engineer this, you're only limited to a certain perspective. So the 6 perspectives can reverse engineer exactly what they're reverse engineering. That's 6 perspective. And once you get further along, you're going to be able to reverse engineer more. It's really extraordinary to watch it all work out, which is why you are not going to reverse engineer magic until you get to the 45th, 46th expansion, because that's where it is. And there's going to be a point where you exhaust everything in the 6th perspective and you're done. There's nothing else for you to reverse engineer. Then you integrate what you've learned, and then you can see, I have an integrated whole, and then you'll move to the next perspective. That's learning. But you have to indulge on the subject that you're in at that perspective. Every academic discipline is assigned its own ethic. Music is courage. This is the kind of stuff I could not communicate before. Music is courage. Music is literally a personification of courage. Self-regulation is art. Self-regulation is art. Self-authority is composition and dance. Boundaries, story, and writing are your boundaries. Ironically, that's when you write your personal laws. See how that works? It's really cool. Fourth ethic. And that's when you'd be able to reverse engineer language. That's why a lot of 4-year-olds can teach themselves how to read. They reverse engineered it. Pretty cool. People who can teach themselves how to read reverse engineered it right out of nature. That is an example of this. Those are the people who are probably going on to be Ashas. That is a very common trait of Asha. That is it right there. So it really comes down to, are you going to construct the story of it, or are you going to do it, and to what degree? You cannot construct a story without doing it to some degree. So really it comes back to, what skill level do you want to be? You have to decide your skill level. So before you can even decide what your skills are, you're also, and I'm going to say simultaneously, when you choose a skill, you're also going to have to choose a skill level. Now, let's say for a minute that you want to do something like carpentry. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that's art. That's art. So that's actually sculpting. Now you're choosing your medium. So let's say you want to be a carpenter. What you're really doing is you're studying art. So you're going to want to take art classes. You're going to want to study art. You're going to want the full story, and you're going to want to do it. Now, instead of painting, you'll probably want to sculpt. You'll probably want to do woodworking and woodcrafting. That's art. If you are into knitting, that is art. That is 100% art and logic, but it's art. You know what? That might be my art. That might be what it is. Elizabeth, I do have art after all. It's called knitting. No. Oh, she says no.
No. It's completely different.
I don't believe so. She says it's completely different. I don't believe so. And the artist is going, it's disgusting.
It's more like crafting.
Crafting. That's like saying it's cooking.
Cooking is not art. Not physically. If there's no pencil and pen.
Cuisine art.
Or like shaping something.
Oh, cooking is very much art. Cake. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I love it. I love artists. They crack me up. They're like, no, I've got the word. It's mine. It's art. It's all right.
No, it's not.
She's like, no, it's not. All right. All right.
Did you guys hear me?
No, what?
I said Beethoven is art and there's no pencil involved.
Yeah, no, we're having a different conversation.
No, I'm saying that doesn't have to be just drawing to be considered.
We had the conversation of, why do artists get the word art? And my daughter did the etymology, and she went, because it's hard to say drawer. Oh, that's a really good point. You don't go drawer. Oh yeah, I could say a musician. Yeah, you say a musician. I'm a musician. I'm a painter. I'm a sculptor. I'm a drawer. It's so hard to say. So everyone in the art community did a whole hats off. Okay, drawers can have the word art. So she's an artist in the sense of, she is a drawer. She's a drawer. Yeah, see, she's a drawer. Art. She's an artist. She draws. And yeah, it's absolutely fascinating to see how that is. So you'll need to choose your skill. You'll need to choose your skill level. And see, I'm thinking about bushcraft now. Where would bushcraft fall in this? And I would say problem solving. No, I would definitely put it under art, under painting, drawing, sculpting, and then I would put it under like a subgenre of crafting, building, construction. It's absolutely all art. Now you're getting into, like, if you look at something like construction building, now you're looking at, you are still assembling Lincoln logs, tinker toys. Now you're looking into engineering. So an engineer is just all of these accumulated again together. Engineering, see now, and you're also getting into the societal roles. You're getting into foundational, cultivator, visionary, pioneer. Foundational is the one who does the engineering. And it would come back to, the art, imagination, creativity. But again, if you fall into the area of the grunt, where you're just doing the robotic mindlessness, completely move, like that's a whole nother thing. So you'd be looking at, would you be filling a foundational role? And the foundation that you're looking at would be, are you an author? We're back to this again. I'm putting together a formula. There's an equation building in my mind. You have to ask the question, are you the author? Are you the translator? Or are you the preserver? Are you the one for preservation? The author, the translator, and those who are for preservation are absolutely about, it requires these three roles are mandatory. Now, if you do not fall under author, translator, or preservation, why are you in Asha? Like why are you on an Asha journey? There's nothing else for an Asha. You're either preserving it, translating it, or you're authoring it. There's nothing else. This is the other side of society we've never seen before. The other side of society, you're a foundational. You're a grunt. And you're a cultivator. As an Asha, you would need to be a cultivator, pioneer, visionary. You would want to be a leader. Leaders are, oh my God, an Asha leader. Oh, wow. Yes. Yes, you would want to be an Asha leader. That's amazing. An Asha parent. Oh, yeah, you would fucking rock the parenting. So now you're getting into just somebody who has high standards and just wants to be the best at whatever they do decide. So now it's, well, I want to be a cook, but I want to be an Asha cook. Okay, I want to be a construction worker, but I want to be an Asha. So I keep thinking about that. I've interviewed construction workers. My brother was a construction worker. And we're back to they don't do thinking. They are literally the robots. I see somebody who's on the Asha journey doing mundane construction work or other construction work only for the experience of indulgence, so they could get the experience and switch over to the other indulgence, so they could integrate both of them and learn from the experience. That's why an Asha, that is exactly why someone on the Asha journey would become a grunt, is so that they would learn to get the experience so they could walk away and say, ah, yes, I have learned.
Oh,
It's our purpose is to learn. Our purpose is to learn. Yes.
the Lego movie with the construction workers.
Yes.
How they all follow the instructions.
Yeah.
That's not actually good.
Yeah, it's the mindless robot. Yeah, that's exactly it. Master builders versus everybody else. Yeah, this is how to be a master builder. Yeah, this is it right here. So I can definitely see the foundational is amazing to me. I love foundationals because a cook is a foundational, a chef is a foundational. They are in there building new recipes. And they're also like right there with the people, feeding the people. But then you would have a carpenter. A carpenter would be sitting there, you know, and this is really the amazing part of this is when you get into the Asha journey and you use it to amplify whatever you want to do, you're going to come up with some really amazing stuff that just go have at it. And this is where it's really, really exciting. Did someone shave is that a dog or a cat? It's a dog. Someone shaved the dog legs, so it's just it looks like a balloon. The dog looks like a balloon with little pretzel sticks. Little stick legs. It looked like a poodle, and they decided to just round it out into a bubble, and then they shaved the legs down. So it looks like someone took a balloon and just but it's a dog. So you would want the author, translator, preservation. You would want to also define what skills you want and also what skill level you want to be at. So that would be the first question is, do you want to be an author, a translator, or a preserver? You can do all three. Again, this is wide open, whatever you want to do. Do you want to be an author? Do you want to be a translator? Do you want to do preservation? Preservation is quality control. You would be setting up your own school, making sure that the standards are absolutely met. So author, translator, preservation, skills that you want in the skill level. And then you would go societal role. Now I'm getting back into Triadic Healing Part 1. Yeah, you get your societal role. And that's going to be your foundational. It's also going to be what language do you speak. So you have your communication level. And your communication level is going to be, are you an artist? Are you a communicator? Are you a scientist? Societal role is going to be, are you a foundational? Are you a, oh, this is beautiful. This is the other side of it. So author, translator, and preservation is the other one. So this already is part of the who's who quiz, like who are you quiz. Are you an ant? Are you a grasshopper? Are you, then this is big. Are you an ant or are you a grasshopper? What is your societal role? Do you want to be a foundational? Do you want to be a cultivator? Do you want to be a visionary? Do you want to be a pioneer? And then it's, what did I write here that I can't even understand? I cannot understand my own scribbles. So I'm just going to scribble out my scribbles so I don't get distracted. You have your societal roles. You have your, are you a foundational? Are you a cultivator, pioneer, visionary? And then you're going to be looking at your, right, your communication. Are you an artist? Are you a scientist? Are you a communicator? And once you have that, then it's okay. Now is the Asha journey for you. Are you an author? Are you a translator? Are you looking to preserve? And merging the Asha journey with your skills, with your societal role, that's beauty. That's where the whole thing comes together. And it's like a whole nother level. It's absolutely beautiful. It is the most beautiful thing there is when you take your Asha journey and you merge it with literally whatever you want. And this is where I can see a very clear line now. And this is something that I'm absolutely adoring right now because I can see it. This is the beautiful part of all this. Now I can see this very clear line drawn of Asha, not Asha. They are just not Asha. And it's a very, very clear line. It's just, you're not meeting the standards. You're not an Asha. If you are not meeting the standards, you are not on the Asha journey. You are not working toward Rata. And now, and this is what I was looking for. Do you remember over the last 3 weeks, I kept saying, I just need the one word to put into my brain logically that'll just click and I'll go, okay, that's fine. And I found it. It's this. It's this right here. They are not an Asha. Oh, okay, that's fine. Suddenly I don't give a shit what people do. They're just not an Asha. Well, that's okay. All right. Oh, they're not an Asha. All right, that's fine. That's it. They are not an Asha. They are not an Asha. Okay, they are not on the Asha journey. Okay, I'm good. They are basically, it's education without standards. That's it. Education without standards, which ironically is not education at all. There it is. There is the comprehension. Education without standards. There it is. Asha, we have the Asha standard. This is the Asha standard. Whatever the highest standard there is, it's going to be the Asha standard and then some. It's the highest. So that's the Asha standard. That's it. You are either on the Asha standard or you're not, which is okay. You don't have to be. This is fantastic. This is great. This is for people who want the Asha standard. All right. I feel great. I feel great. This is going to take care of everything. Because suddenly it's, oh, you're not on the Asha standard. Oh, that's okay. All right, that's fine. And it's that there is my everything. That summarizes everything. They are not on the Asha standard. I don't work off of the Asha standard. I don't. I won't. I can't. I'm now incompatible with it. This is fantastic. Like I said, this solves all the problems. I just needed that one, I just need the one if then clause. They are not on the Asha standard. Okay. And I had built, now I understand, I had built this entire everything to the Asha standard. And people who are not Asha kept coming in, and I was like, why are you here? And I went, it's because you are not communicating something. What am I not communicating? I don't know, but you got to figure out what you're not communicating. I finally figured out what I'm not communicating. They're not on the Asha standard. So before I invite people into my space, before I invite people into the school, before I bring people over, understand this is set at the Asha standard. This is the Asha standard. Now, you can take some of the work and go off and do whatever the fuck you want of it, but don't use my name. I mean, use my name. It's my stuff. But yeah, you make it clear you may have gotten it from the Asha standard, but if you botch it and fuck it up, that's okay. It's on you. It's not going to work if you don't have the Asha standard. It only works if you have the Asha standard. There. That's what I'm trying to say. Triadic healing will not work on you if you don't have the Asha standard. There. Disclaimer. Done. Triadic healing only works on people with the Asha standard. Done. That was easy. Simplified. That is the disclaimer I have been trying to find. Triadic healing will not work on you if you do not have the Asha standard. There. Okay. All right. And this is exactly it. I took on a couple people and they did not meet the Asha standard. And I'm like, no, this is not going to work. And I could not identify what it was that I could even do my own quality control. I'm like, I don't even have the name for this. Oh, this is so much easier. So yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. So why the Asha standard is in place is because, well, it's not everywhere else. And it's at a point where no, I'm just not doing it. Not doing it. I will not do that anymore. It was insanity. So deciding what skills you want. Don't ever, and this is really where we get it backwards, is when you're looking at who you are is inside the subject matters that you study. It's inside academic discipline. And that's really it. It's inside the academic discipline. And you only have 6 major topics to decide from. Education is beyond. Yeah. If you want to be an educator in Asha, you're going to have to do all of them. Now, I'm going to say this because I've said it many times. I have about 80%. I have 80% of these. I did not do physics, chemistry, biology. I just put together their story. I just put together their story and I did the basics. So I did the basics. So you have the basic, and then I would say you have the mastered. There really is no other. Either you're doing the basic or you're going all out. There really is nothing else. You do bare minimum or you go all out. You might dabble a little bit and be a little interested, but not really. It's interesting. If you're interested in one of these subjects, you go all out. And it's fascinating to me. So with physics, with physics, I went deep. But with chemistry and biology, I'm working on it. I'm still a student under those. I am still a student under those, and I will study them until I exhaust them. I will study them until I exhaust them. They're not where my focus is yet because of where my focus is. And that's the other thing, is your focus can change. I felt my music slipping and I went, no. So I went back to my music and I pulled that back. Trying to figure out where my music was slipping. I think it was just me wanting to compose music again. I think I just wanted to compose. So then, yeah, art. We all know the history with art. I did not do art. Did not do art. I mean, I just did the story. That was basic. So I did the basic on art. And I know I still have. So when I'm done, I can see me easily doing like, no, I would do mastery in chemistry. I would do mastery in biology. I would take that all out. I would do it with the same thing with math. Math is going to go all the way out. I just haven't got to it yet. So yeah, okay. So I only have basic in art. That's it. It's the only one where I did not master. It's the only one I didn't master. Everything else I went all out with. So when you are deciding of those 6 academic disciplines, and if you don't know where to start with music. Always start with music. And you have to do them in order. So it's in order and exhaust it. Those are the 2 things. Go in order and exhaust it. Do not move on. There is no, I'm going to do a little bit here, and then in the next year I'm going to do the next part, and then no. Do not span it all over 12 years. That is the dumbest thing in the world. Don't do that. You're going to want to do all of music and just gorge yourself. Now you might and you will have to go back and do music theory, logic, and linguistics because you were like an infant when you did it the first time. So you're going to want to go back and just make sure that those 3, because without those 3 things in place, you won't unlock the part of your brain that turns on the God code. That's vital to that. And I want to say the God code, unlocking the God code is literally turning on, or it's activating your Asha journey. You want to activate your Asha journey. This is something that I've noticed. Activating your Asha journey. Oh, I could do a whole thing just on this. Activating your journey. I remember when I activated mine. There's only one thing in the world that activates your Asha journey, and it is a very special formula that Pythagoras discovered. And it is music theory plus logic plus physics plus, well, I'm just going to put in little parentheses here, geometry between logic and physics, but music theory, geometry, logic, physics. That cocktail is the only thing that unlocks it. That is it. That's how you unlock it. That is the door. When you unlock it, you're going to see shit. You're going to see shit like, oh, that's when you've started. Well, that's when you've unlocked it. I unlocked mine at 15. I can tell you right now, my daughter has unlocked hers. Now, Sophie's World will do that with the logic. So Sophie's World will do that. And when you combine Sophie's World with logical, well, no, you don't have to do that. I would partner that up with geometry and music theory. So if you read Sophie's World with music theory and then do this geometry book, there you go. You're good. You're set. Classic physics. Yeah, that's a really good solid. Where's my physics books? Oh, could you hand me my physics books, please? It's on the bench. Where's your physics? There, no, just this one. Yeah. So for physics, like I said, it's a little thing. So for physics, the basic physics, this is all of it. This is all you need for physics. Like it is not, it's like 300 words. And then geometry, trig, calculus, this one. Or I'm sorry, 300 pages. Author, we don't talk in terms of pages. We never talk in terms of pages. Everything's words. You do word count. So there is all of physics, well, basic physics. And there is all of geometry, trig, and calc. That's not 12 years worth of study. Like there's, if you do it in the right order, it unlocks it fast. That's the right order. Okay. Yeah, I can get this down. I know I can. I can get this down to approximately 6 books. And if we don't have the book, I will write it. But music theory is done. Now, yeah, theater stage. Oh, theater stage. Theater, stage, poetry. See, geometry, trig, calculus. Music theory is all of it's crammed in there. I danced. I focus when I dance. Oh, do I focus when I dance? When you dance, are you mindless? When you dance, are you mindless or are you focused? You don't know. That would be mindless. That would be mindless. If you were focused, you would know it. So when I danced, I was focused. I was geometry.
See, that's me with art.
Yeah, and that's where I'm thinking is where I get it, is when I dance, I'm focused and I'm strategic and it's, all right, make sure everything is in the artistically correct position. Yeah, see, but when I get over to art, I go mindless. I wonder if we have to have one thing that's mindless for fun. Wouldn't that be amazing? Mother Nature says, no, you're cut off. That's what you do for fun. Because that's what I do art. I do it for fun to shut off. I wonder if she does that. I'm trying to think about what Da Vinci's was. What was the one thing Da Vinci wasn't good at? Yeah. All right. So this is like, now we're getting into skill development. Now we're getting into skill discipline. And now we're starting to open up that door. Really, we're starting to open up that door. Mental diversification is a skill that is a whole thing. Mental diversification. Mental diversification is oh God, this is my passion. I don't know where I got mental diversification from. As in, I can't tell if this is where whatever the fuck this science is, it's mental diversification. You're always using it. But it doesn't fall under the educational studies. You have education and you got mental diversification, which is why I don't know whatever the fuck this science is because I haven't been able to find a common denominator other than it's all of it together. It's universe. It's all of it. It's all of it. It's how it interacts together. It's how in biology, you integrate it. And then in education, you study all of how education moves. And then there's whatever the fuck this science is. It's really out there. Yep, that is my one. They are not on the Asha standard. It's like, okay, they're not on the Asha standard. And now the other thing is, as people ask me whether or not they should or should not come to my material, I can say to them, yeah, is it for you? You need to make sure it's for you because it's about maintaining the Asha standard. It is high. It's the highest in the world. There's nothing higher than this standard. And there's some people who are going to be like, finally, a standard for education. Oh, believe me, I'm right there with you. That's why this is here. And then there's life learners. That's what it is. Because life learners are the ones who are doing the research going, okay, this is a lie. Someone clearly doctored this historical book. And it's infuriating. And if you switch over to the Asha standard, it takes discipline. It's discipline. And I know a lot of people who want the Asha standard, but they won't do the discipline. Denied. You can dabble, here you go, but don't call what you're doing Asha. You're using it, you might be borrowing it, but you are not living it. And that's really the difference. It's literally, no, there's one man who summarized this already perfectly and beautiful because he was it. To dream the impossible dream. To fight the unbeatable foe. No matter how hopeless. no matter how far. To fight for what's right without question or pause. To be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. It is the quest to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far. This is the quest. Oh, yes. And that is literally the embodiment of what it is. There is nothing else. There is nothing else. Not to an Ashavana. You could almost call it the science of Don Quixote. But I like whatever the fuck this science is. What the fuck this is. I'm going to take requests at some point to see what people can put together because I'm curious what other people. And here's the thing. The reason why I can't name it yet is because I can see it. And I'm in the descriptive stages of transferring it and reverse engineering it. So now I can describe it to you, but I can't summarize it yet into a single word because I haven't evolved to that point yet. Once I get to that point, I'm going to have its name. And I'm going to have its true name. And I'm going to go, oh, this is whatever the fuck this science is. And then I'm going to continue to call it whatever the fuck this science is because it's fucking awesome. And I will call it that until someone in a suit shows up and says, Anna, you can't call it that. We got to regulate this. No, it's whatever the fuck this science is. It's whatever the fuck this science is. So yeah. Oh yes, the quest. Yes. It's going to be a plaque in our doors as soon as you walk in the foyer, and it's going to be the impossible dream. The whole lyrical song is going to be right there. This is my quest to follow the star, no matter how hopeless. And that is Asha. That is the journey, which is why we're knights. There's nothing else. Yeah. This is definitely like, I found it. I found the name for this thing. It's been, wow. All right. I'm going to put together a reading list. I mean, I already have one, but I'm going to add these two books to it, the Basic Physics and the Geometry Trig for Calculus. And these, definitely this Basic Physics is literally all you need for physics. This is it right here. And I will give you the order of operations in which you need to learn them. That is vital. Because until you have a solid mastery of one, you cannot go on to the next if you are looking to master it. So, yeah, I almost want to say Mother Nature has it set up so that you can remove one, but only one of these from your mind. After that, you're going to feel it. So you have to be at least 80%. I cannot imagine. I mean, I can see music moving through everything. Music is mandatory. Music is mandatory. Theater, stage. If you're a cultivator, I can almost see there being a formula for it. Where, yeah, this is it right here. I really see the formula for it. Now, if you want to be a cultivator or an educator, you're going to need the whole gambit. Except one, 80% still. I can almost see the formula where a certain, like a medical doctor can afford to drop one thing from this lineup, one of the sixes. And you cannot drop. Like people who have 3 of the 4 arts missing, what are you doing? Like that is like, that's danger. That is like, you are missing too much of your code. You are missing way too much of your code. So you want at least 80% of your code in place. I'm looking at synergy. I'm looking at how it would calculate and move in with each other via synergy. Basically, music has its core. I've got that. And I've got reading, writing, arithmetic. I've got that. So then they produce a synergy. And then the synergy, if you imagine it being like this energy that overflows, now you've got the energy of music running into art, and you've got the synergy, what are you called? The aura of reading, writing, arithmetic flowing over. So that gives me enough that I can bridge something together for art, that it bridges the gap. It's my weak spot, but it bridges the gap. And I can feel that again when I get into math, where I've got linguistics, logic, and physics. And that comes together, so it bridges my gap in math. But then you get into calculus, and that's gone. Calculus goes off into that branch, and I can feel that that's gone. And that's annoying me because I keep running into that problem. But my logic and my physics are so complete that they fill in for my math gap. So even though I don't know much math, I have the two of them piecing it together. Now my physics, and I can see where my physics, and that's where it's as needed. Now, when I started to study biology, now here's the thing. I studied plants, botany on a level. My botany, I was splicing roses, and I was studying I was literally breaking down the taxonomy, and I was getting into the legalities of whether or not I was legally allowed to splice my own roses. This is biology. So yeah, I have a strong biology, and I have strong physics, and that molds and puts or fills in my chemistry. In addition to that, I studied metallurgy and blacksmithing and metals and elements, and yeah. So I actually have a lot more chemistry than I actually am giving myself credit. I've also studied cat anatomy, biology, bones. I really need to give myself a lot more credit. My mother had a medical encyclopedia that was about that thick, and I read it all when I was a child. I forgot about this. I spent a lot of time reading my mother's medical book. It was literally all of disease with the anatomy from beginning to end. My mother was an unrealized genius. I got this from my mom, but my mom's trauma was too severe for her to do anything with it. So she had like the medical book of all, the mother lode of all medical books, and I read that. I forgot that I read that. So I probably have a lot more chemistry and biology in me that I'm actually. So again, the only thing that I'm really lacking, aside from calculus, definitely calculus, I can feel that leg missing. And that's the only one that's interfering. So here's my concern. Is the lack of art hurting or causing problems for any of my education that I'm not aware of? And that's got me concerned. The other thing is also knowing what each of these subjects does. So you can go, oh, I'm having a problem with this because I haven't studied this. For instance, I have a problem with time because I never studied calculus. Calculus would be able to calculate duration. Because I haven't studied calculus, I can't plug in duration. So I never know when things are going to happen. So I can prediction, but I can't tell you when. I see milestones, and I know calculus would plug all of that in to make my predictions really stupidly accurate. Really accurate. So I really want to learn calculus. and this is where it gets really fascinating, is knowing what each subject does and what it brings to the party, so that you know what you need to work on. For instance, when you study music and art, you are working on your ability to translate feelings into words. So the more you study music and art, the more you learn how to study your feelings and turn them into words. If you study reading, writing, arithmetic, and you study theater stage, you're going to work on your communication center so it can translate the image and descriptors into words. And then when you work on linguistics and logic, you'll be able to transfer your words into feeling and comprehension. So if you're having a linguistics or a comprehension problem, it's because you are struggling with everything from art all the way over to logic. Ironically, this is everything they took out of your educational system, and they gave you reading and writing only. And then they started you with the sciences and math. This is why you can't communicate or translate your feelings into anything comprehensible. This is why. It's because they took it all out. The problem is that's your comprehension for understanding math, physics, all that jazz. Why are they having you study just history? It blows my mind. It's just history. It is. I can't make sense of it. There's no Asha standard. That's what happens when you don't have an Asha standard. That's what happens when you don't have an Asha standard. Okay. So yeah, it's really a question of, do you want to just borrow the material or do you want to dive into be Asha? It's a completely different experience. That's it right there. That's it right there. This is so much easier. So now it's like, okay, you're dabbling, you're a guest, you're showing up here, you're not Asha. That's okay. That's fine. But stepping into this world is, life learners get it. But again, you've got life learners who are dabblers and then life learners who are like life learners. And it's funny because I've met people where they just get angry over the shit quality of education. And then there's the grieving period. There's a grieving period. And I'm going to talk about this at some point, where it's when you realize that you received a shit education. There is real grief to that. And I went through it 3 times before I fired everybody to teach me. It's like, no, you're not qualified to teach me. I'm going to teach myself. So grieving over a loss of education is a real deal. It is a real suffering. It is frustration that you wasted your time. It is anger that they lied to you. It is distrust of teachers. That's right. That's where it comes from. And it's also a severe distrust of authority. Yep. I'm not going to hide that. That's exactly where mine comes from. And it is then you make the correction of, okay, where is my education going to come from next? Because I just got a whole bunch of bullshit. So you're going to correct it. You're going to create an educational boundary and a standard. This is where the standard comes from, actually, is when you realize that's what a boundary is. It's a standard. That's all it is. When you're setting boundaries, you're actually setting a standard, and you are enforcing and preserving your standard. That's what you're doing. I just caught a logical fallacy that my partner said to me a few days ago, and I want to write it down and immediately begin to unravel it and dissect it, because I went, no, that's definitely a logical fallacy. And I suspected it when he said it, and I went, that doesn't make sense. And my subconscious mind went, no, put that away. And I went, okay. And I focused on what we needed to focus on. And it's been coming back, popping up. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready. And it just popped up, and then I got it. And I went, that is a logical fallacy. And now I want to dissect it. That is a logical fallacy. All right, I found it. Okay, now I've written it down so I won't forget it. Now I can actually the logical reason for a catch-22 is self-preservation. It's where a lie is hiding. You're hiding a lie every time there is a logical fallacy. Every logical fallacy inside of you, every PTSD, every catch-22, you're hiding a lie. And you're hiding the truth, actually. And you need to dig out the logical fallacy to find the truth. Every logical fallacy, every logical loop, contradiction has a truth inside of it, but you're hiding the truth with a lie. So you got to figure out what the truth is under the lie. And always go by the actions they speak loudest. And he already said it. I found it. That's what he needs to talk about. Okay, good. All right, there we go. So there's always clues. There's always clues. The words that are spoken highlight what they actually want to talk about. Like if you're talking about X and they bring up something else, one of two things. Either they are distracting because you hit the nail on the head, or this is the real problem. Now you've got to figure out which of the two things is the distraction and what is the real problem. This is vital. This is how you solve every relationship problem. Is you take the two things that are being discussed, and one of them is the distraction, the other is the real thing. What they get mad about the most is the real thing. What they get mad about the most is the real thing. That's it. That's it right there. Yeah. All right. All right. That solves everything. I have much logical conclusion in my brain, and I just felt click, 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 and everything feels so good. I love the feeling of logic. It feels, you can feel logic. Once you know what logic feels like, you're going to go, oh my God, I can feel it. Yes, yes, you're going to feel it. You are going to feel it. You need to give it its true name. So I am going to go think about life, the universe, and everything. I have much to think about. Thank you so much, and may the truth always find you.